All right, in the interest of being respectful to all of your time, thank you so much for joining me here. This slide is just a little bit about me, and we're going to move on to what we're going to talk about. So first of all, in presenting ourselves as great leaders on video conference calls, I want to talk about neuroscience. I get to talk about this because of my other career where I work in the medical field, and that is I get to talk about cool medical stuff about how we connect on the brain level, which excites me, as you can see, because I'm a nerd. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link to Amy Cuddy's power posing TED Talk that some of you have seen. So I've just put it into the chat box. You guys can look at it later. It's about 20 minutes, a little bit longer than normal. But she talks about how you can get ready for presentations like this one. I'm just going to own that I'm a little bit of an introvert, so I've been a little bit nervous today. And one of the ways that I prepared, and one of the ways that I recommend to all of my clients to prepare, is do your power posing. And I'm going to let her explain all about that. Just going to touch on that briefly, and that's a great way for you to be perceived as more confident and as more competent. They've done some really fun research where they had people get ready for presentations, do power posing for just 2 minutes prior, and they were perceived during job interviews as more competent and more confident, even if the job interviewers did not know that they had done them ahead of time, which is really cool. So that is one of the ways that you can prepare yourself, is to make sure that you feel more confident and more comfortable inside of your own skin, is do your power posing ahead of time. I can promise I did mine. And it does help. It works. So neuroscience a little bit, I'm going to feather it in. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But one of the other things that I wanted to say is that make sure, one of the really simple ways that you can connect with your teams right now, or people that you're talking to or interviewing, is you smile to your eyes. They've actually done research where they stuffed people in MRI machines, and they have found that if you don't smile all the way to your eyes, if you do a little fake smile, that absolutely nothing happens in the other person's brain. So a really quick way to imbue the conversation with warmth and connectivity, which is what you want, especially right now when we can't stand next to each other or we're doing this over the internet, is to smile all the way to your eyes. Make sure that the muscles around your eyes are activated so that they feel that warmth and connectivity, and it actually releases a mirror neuron connection between our two brains, that I look at you and I smile to my eyes, and so that helps you feel more positive about me, and then that makes me feel more comfortable, which is good for me right now. So there's just a little quick blurb about neuroscience and then the way we can connect with each other. And now we're going to talk a little bit about body language. This is another one of my favorite topics. A huge amount of the information that we share, the messages that we send out, are about body language. So how this comes into play on a video conference call is that when you're sitting there, and I'm going to do a little quick demonstration for you, if you're doing a lot of hand gestures and you're only seeing the tops of my fingers coming up every once in a while, you're doing what's she doing? What's going on down there? So make sure that you bring your hands up. If you're going to make a hand gesture, if you're going to demonstrate something, that it's up here. Or if you need to make a big gesture, come back further so that your screen size where you are filling is appropriate for the hand gesture that you're doing. So make sure that you are letting people see what you're doing, because otherwise they're going to be feeling like they're missing out, and that's a really, really cruddy feeling. It's like, what's going on? I'm missing part of the messages that are being portrayed. So the other thing that I see a lot of, unfortunately, is people who do the and they start to cover their mouth because they're leaning on their desk. They're not thinking about the fact that if you cover your face, you're actually eliciting on a subconscious level for the other person. This is back to my neuroscience again. You're eliciting for the other person that you're not trustworthy, that you're dishonest, that you have something to hide. And that's really not something that we want to be doing to our teams or to the other people that we're talking to right now. We want lots of openness, lots of connectivity right now to make sure that we're having effective communication with each other. So keep your mouth uncovered. For those of us who have long hair, make sure that you're not doing things like having part of your face covered with your hair. Make sure that you are being open and showing your face so that people feel that sense of connection to you. So The other thing that I see a lot of is on podcast recordings and those kinds of things is people who sit really far away from the camera. And I want you to think about what happens when you try and have a conversation with somebody and you're standing either too close or you're standing too far away. It makes people feel uncomfortable. So find that nice, comfortable space. And I know that there's a difference culturally around the world about what that distance should feel like, but just remember that applies to how people feel when you're doing presentations over the internet as well, is if you're sitting too far back, people feel that sense of distance, like this person doesn't really want to be close to me. So sit, stand, whatever it is, but be close enough to your camera that people feel that sense of, it's okay, I'm having a conversation with them. They actually want to be connected with me, because it shows respect and it shows that you're actually involved. So of course, another big thing is make sure, and I'm gonna have to stand up a little bit for this, make sure that you're not doing the cross your hands in front of you, closing off your body posture, doing things like covering yourself from somebody else, because that creates that distance that we really don't need any more of right now. We have enough physical distancing. We don't need to create that sense of distance as well by the way that we hold our body posture. So make sure open body posture, shoulders up. Don't be doing the I don't feel confident, I'm just sitting here, I'm kind of bored. Don't do that, especially if you're the presenter. You want to be showing the energy, you want to show that you feel confident, because the thing is if you demonstrate this with your own body, your body sends a message to your brain that says, I'm feeling confident, and then you are gonna be more confident. So it's this nice feedback loop that our brain provides for us. A really quick way to make sure that you add warmth to a conversation is something that I did just then. I do this really, really frequently. I tend to tilt my head to the left. I have somebody who's popped up. Tilt your head slightly to the left or right, whichever makes you happy. It shows and demonstrates warmth to somebody in a way that typically we will do this in person, is to reach out, we might touch them on their shoulder, those kinds of things. You can just, to indicate warmth, to indicate connectivity to somebody, just do a slight tilt. Not so much that someone wonders if your head's gonna fall off, but a quick tilt. Okay, thank you. So that's another, the quick head tilt. The other thing that I'm going to tell you, I struggle with this when I'm on the phone with my clients and I get very concentrated and I'm thinking about what they're talking about and really listening to them, is there's a term for it, I'm not going to use it, but there's the resting facial expression is how I'm going to say it, is make sure that your resting facial expression is one where someone feels still like you're listening and it's not a painful thing for you. So I tend to get very concentrated and the look is not necessarily the most warm and friendly. So make sure that you at least keep a slight smile on your face that indicates I am listening to you, but this isn't painful to me. So watch your resting facial expressions. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on. Thank you, Sunny, no problem. All right, so the next thing is that we're gonna talk about is eye contact. I told you I was gonna show you a little picture of what my setup looks like. I have lifted my laptop up so that my eyes are at eye level. So again, you don't want to be having that sense of overpowering someone or talking submissively to someone. I want to have that nice, good eye contact. I will tell you this is really difficult, in part because I can't see any of you right now, which is okay. But also when you do have people on the screen with you, looking at them means that your eyes have drifted away, you're looking down, you're looking to the side. So while you are talking, while you are presenting, make sure that you're looking at your looking at your camera, so that how you guys receive it, how your audience receives it, is that I'm looking into your eyes. I am making good eye contact with you, because that's a really nice way to make eye contact. The gazing, I'm going to say, is a lot harder to do. I just wanted to highlight it really quick since we're here today and we're talking about this, is that when you're standing in person and talking to someone, remember that there are different kinds of gazes that will elicit a different kind of intentionality for the conversation. This is a lot harder to do on videos, but just wanted to pause briefly on that there are different kinds of looks. If you're spending a lot of time only in this area, people are going to feel more directed, more authoritative from you. That's the sense they're going to get from you. Whereas if you're doing it between the eyes and the mouth, which a lot of us do, to do the speech reading, lip reading kind of thing, that will create that more social, so a little bit more friendly, a little bit more warmer And then, of course, if you look lower to a certain level, then it's a more intimate gaze. So make sure when you do go back to meeting with people in person that you watch where your eyes go in general to create the intentionality for the conversation that you want. So let me see, make sure I didn't. Oh, so one quick way, I'm sure some of you have seen this on LinkedIn that I do is, I'm going to show you on my phone, is it's really sometimes really difficult to make sure that you're looking in the right spot. So I use a sticky note and I point it towards my camera on my phone screen when I'm doing recordings to make sure that I'm actually making the eye contact and not looking down and looking away or looking at myself on the screen. So that's just my really low-tech way of doing that, just as a quick tip for all of you. All right, vulnerability. I have covered this in a couple of posts, and I think it's really important right now that one of the best ways that us as leaders can reach out and really connect with our teams is to let them know we're all in this together. It's not like, oh, I'm the cool cucumber boss and I got this all handled and just all of you are suffering and I've got some secret into knowing how to deal with this. All of us are going through the chronic stress right now of this environment, and little ways. I don't encourage leaders to overshare, but little ways that you can indicate kind of nicely and quickly to your teams is to say, you know, I'm getting a little stir crazy. How about all of you? How are we all doing today? And of course, you can see I did the head tilt thing that I talked about earlier. You can say, how is everyone doing? You know, anyone else getting antsy? This is kind of, you know, starting to drive me nuts. Or my favorite that I hear a fair amount of is, oh my word, my kids are driving me crazy right now. And that is an indication for someone that you're in this with them. You are feeling just that little bit stressed as well, and it helps people feel more connected when you know that there's empathy and that people are in this boat with you. And you can indicate that to your team in a very, very small way just by a couple of little quick questions. So let me just see. So I was going to say, like I said earlier, one of my ways of being a little bit vulnerable is to say I'm just a little bit nervous. This is a thing for me. And so I appreciate the feedback that you guys gave me in the chat box of just saying hi and letting me know, yes, you are there, you're listening. So thank you for that. That helps as well for us to feel more connected, even though I can't really see you and I can't hear any of you right now. So thank you for that. All right, and we are going to move on to listening. Oh, thank you, Christine, I appreciate that. So good listening skills. Right now, I'm not doing good listening, sorry. But in general, what I recommend to leaders that I work with is when you get on conference calls like this and when you go back to having in-person meetings is don't do things like, hey, so I have this really great idea that I think is the best solution in the world for this. And then give it. If you want it to be a brainstorming session, you need to listen first and speak last. I believe the quote comes from Nelson Mandela for that. But you need to listen first and do the listening where people can tell that you're listening, not the and oh yeah, not that kind of listening. Good eye contact, making sure that you're recognizing I have two ears and I have one mouth and I'm going to use them proportionally. Something that maybe our moms have probably told us from time to time. So turn off your distractions, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're using good eye contact. And if you want it to be a brainstorming session and not just, hey, does everyone want to buy into my idea? Make sure that you listen first and you speak last, so that you give everyone a chance. And I will tell you, since I happen to be an introvert, I'm not likely to speak up in big meetings. So a way that you as a leader can make sure everyone is feeling heard right now is to let the extroverts go first, because you know they want to. Let them go first and then say, okay, like I would do in this environment, okay, I haven't heard from Sunny yet, or I haven't heard from Dino or Christine or, you know, PJ. I haven't heard from, you know, whoever it is. And I would say, would you like to share now? I would like to hear from everyone. And then you wait. And I can tell you that as an introvert, that frightens me to death, but I am far more likely to step into that situation and give my thoughts thank you, Tina, if I feel like someone's going to listen and that they want to hear from me. So we as leaders, that's something that we can do right now, which can be a little bit awkward over video chat. But that is definitely a way that we can add that in, is to say, I really want to hear from everyone, and then demonstrate that. All right, let me see. So of course, a lot of you probably are really good at this, but I like to mention it just in case. A nice way to show that you're listening to understand and that you're not listening to respond is to pause after someone's done talking and just say, okay, so I think what I understood of what you had to say was, and then paraphrase it slightly. You don't have to repeat the whole entire thing back that they said, but just paraphrase it slightly and say, I think this is my understanding, and then let them clarify if that's not what you understood. We all come at things from our own perspective. I will tell you from time to time when I'm talking to someone, I hear a word or I hear a term. This happens a lot when I'm working with salespeople and they use little acronyms that in the hospital setting mean something completely different. In talking with someone, they said, oh, and you're going to have an AMA section to your webinar. And I said, in the hospital setting, that's absent without medical authorization. That's someone leaving the hospital against medical advice. And I didn't know what AMA meant. For me, it's a Q&A session, not an AMA session. So different things that you say, you might have a really good understanding of what that means. My other favorite example that I'm just going to toss out really quick is when people say the term SaaS. They spell it SAAS, and that has a very different meaning than how I hear it, which is SaaS, like I'm giving somebody a little bit of sass or using some sarcasm, which is one of my favorite things. So different things that different people use are going to come across differently. So listening, paraphrasing, saying it back to make sure that you guys are actually communicating and not just talking past each other is a really nice thing that we can do right now, especially if, say, there's background sounds or there's a kid screaming or any of the other things that can be going on right now. All right, so we are going to go to some questions that you guys have, if you guys have any. So I'm going to invite you, if you want, you don't have to, but you can either type your questions in, or you can take yourself off mute, you can take yourself off video, and I'm going to invite you to ask any questions that you might have, if that even works. Yes, no. Hello.
Hi EJ, can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. I do not understand this at all. I am flummoxed beyond measure with what Zoom is doing. There's Dina.
Hello.
Mute. So I'm going to let you all unmute yourselves. Is that what I need to do? This part of Zoom I don't understand at all. So I don't understand it at all. Okay, so several of you are unmuted. Okay, PJ is saying it's a problem it isn't. Thanks for owning that, PJ. I don't know. All right. Any questions about any of the stuff I covered? Would you like for me to go into it in depth? Hello. I know I went over pretty quickly. I see PJ on the screen. I can try to do really good lip reading, PJ, but I can't promise I'm all that incredible at it over the internet. No. All right. Shall I call on you guys?
Well, I have a question.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I see Christine.
I have a question for you.
Screen, Christine. I see your name.
Pardon? You see my name, but you don't want to see my screen. Trust me. I'm sitting here in yoga pants.
All participants are unmuted. I do not know what else to do. Okay.
But I have a question for you.
If you do have a question and I'm just not able to hear you, maybe if you could type it in. Oh, PJ says that he can hear Christine, but I can't hear. And I see that Dino's probably talking because I see your little microphone telling me stuff and I don't. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I can only hear myself. Let's see if I mute myself. Does that? I'm so sorry, guys. I don't share. Does that work? Can I hear you guys now? No. It's asking me to check. Oh, I can hear people now. I'm so excited. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Okay. Christine says, here's my question. I'm a very open person and extroverted. We love you, Christine. I am very confident looking into someone's eyes. Can you go over the authoritarian perceived gaze again? So Christine, what I will say, and you can unmute yourself if you would like, what I will say is to make sure that for eye gaze, you're keeping your eye focus at eye level with somebody else, and you're only doing about 70%. That's about how much, and then you want to be at least glancing away, blinking, not doing the death stare. If you're taller or shorter than somebody, if you guys can sit down and be sitting more at eye level, that can help create that sense of team environment. Oh, I can hear Sunny.
That's great feedback.
Does that help answer your question, Christine?
It does. It does.
Okay.
I just don't, I'm always kind of leery of looking away from somebody because I don't want to give the impression that I'm shifty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a really valid concern, Christine. It's just if you think about everything in life as balance, if there's too much water, it's a flood. If there's not enough, it's a drought. If you have too much eye contact, it's that death stare. It's the I never blink and my eyes are going to dry out. So we all do it, even if it's just a quick look away. You can be very intentional and purposeful about it, and do people. There's all sorts of really fun research. Oh, if you look up and to the right, it means you're lying. If you look up and to the left, if you're lying. Typically, I will say the body language research says that if you look up to either direction, it creates that sense that you're thinking, especially if you make sure your face matches it. So if you do well, let me think just for a second about that, or you do something with more of your body that says, I'm thinking about what I'm about ready to say. So that holds the space in the conversation while breaking the eye contact, that doesn't do it in a way that says, I'm being furtive, or I'm being shifty is the word that you used, which I think is a good word. Does that help at all?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate the question. All right. And thank you, PJ, for helping me understand that when I muted my laptop earlier, it's a problem. I didn't want to be disturbed by any notifications of any sort, including you guys talking to me. Oh, yes, actually, Sunny, that's a really good question. Sunny's asking about, can I talk about the tone of voice inflection? That is super important. I will tell you, I didn't touch on that because I wasn't sure how much time we were going to have today. Voice inflection is really important to hold interest and to be engaging. If you continuously talk about something in a very monotone way, you hold the same volume level, you don't vary in any way. You don't necessarily have to be super dynamic and talk really high and then really low and anything like that. You don't have to do that because that can sound very sing-songy and not very professional. But if you raise your voice, if you lower your voice, if you change the pacing of what you say, you hold attention longer. So there's a variety of ways that you can hold attention, especially when you're doing a presentation. You probably noticed that I tried to keep my volume fairly reasonably level because I didn't want people doing the, oh wow, now she's too loud, and oh, I can't really hear her, because that can be very distracting over time. So picking one thing to vary can help. You can do several. Does that sort of answer your question? I don't know how much you want me to dive into that. Does that help? Let's see. Oh, good nuggets. All right. Well, thank you, Sunny. I appreciate that. That's nice feedback of you. All right. So PJ says, in a professional online meeting setting, how would a leader address a situation where they can see the other participant is distracted? This is something that's, I think every public speaker faces is that looking out in the crowd and seeing someone's doodling or seeing someone who's sleeping. That's my least favorite. I tend to, for myself, I tend to make it a game a little bit to see if I can vary my inflection or my vocal intensity, is how we call volume, enough where I can wake somebody up, because somehow apparently I think that's funny. If you see that someone's distracted, sometimes that's an indication that either there's something going on with just that one person, but if you see that there's a gentle hue to your audience where people look like they're not being attentive, sometimes that's a good time to ask a question or to pause or throw it out to the audience or change it up just a little bit. I've seen speakers do things really effectively, like, okay, we're going to all jump up and we're going to take a quick stretch because I think that, you know, our bodies are settling into our chairs now. You can do little things like that to try and bring people back in. That's not too distracting. You know, sometimes if you're doing a long webinar, you can have people take a break if that's planned, and you start to see it coming about half an hour ahead of where the break time was supposed to be. You can either interject a quick activity, something to change it up a little bit. Does that help a little bit? Okay, thank you. All right, so Dino, I don't want to pick on you, but if you have a question. Oh, Dino's left.
I have a video question. Hold on. Where's my video gone? Oh, damn it.
I don't know.
Oh, there it is.
Yay, Dino.
How you going? I had one, Elaine, that you were showing us how you had the arrow on your camera. So when you're doing these video presentations, are you finding that, I don't know if you've done them previously, if you've had them facing you where you can actually see yourself, or if you've got a whole screen of people, what's your recommendation, particularly if there's 10 or 12 people on a screen? What's the best way, I suppose, for yourself to keep focused on the information that you're giving?
So for me, how my screen looks, and that's a great question, Dina, for how my screen looks is I can see the presentation, but I have like the chat box in one corner and, you know, the waiting room in another corner. I do actually have the video right underneath my camera, so to keep my eye focused as closely as possible, and whoever's speaking is who shows up. So that's how I chose to address this. For you, I would say, if you can, when you're speaking, just look at your camera. Make sure that you're looking at your camera, because for everyone on your screen, they are going to feel that is eye contact for them. It's going to depend a little bit on your group, Dino, how you handle that. You know, if this is a team and you want to make sure that you see all of them, you can show them that by how you look at your screen. It depends on if it's just a sea of faces and you're just talking and you're not using a PowerPoint presentation as the basis for your talk, that will change it a little bit. I know that's kind of a nebulous answer. Tina, did that help at all?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Sunny, you was taught about the importance of tone. Sorry. I would say Sunny's asking about the importance of the vocal inflection and making pauses to impact and draw listeners into the conversation. Body language is very important. Anything nonverbal that you do, facial expressions, hand gestures, the way you're holding your body, is really, really critical. So yes, I like to talk about it with my clients as it's layers of cake. You know, you can't have the whole cake if you don't put in all the pieces. And so, you know, your basis is your body language. How are you holding yourself? How are you presenting yourself to others? And then doing things like your pausing, your fluency. If you're someone who talks really slow and you don't do a lot with your face, you're going to have a lot harder time holding someone's attention. So yes, I would say both are important, but as far as if you're only going to do one, if you can only bring one to a presentation, make sure that you're holding yourself in a way that says, I feel comfortable, I'm happy to be here, and I want to connect with you. Does that help?
Ija, I have a question. If
Yes.
if Sunny doesn't, okay. So my question is, like, can there be a situation where you can use too many gestures during a conversation, and how to keep a conscious effort on making sure that you're not overdoing the gestures so as to distract the person who you're speaking to?
No, that's a really good question, PJ. Thank you. It's like going back to Christine's comment of eye contact. There is too much and there is too little. You know, if I sit here and I do the whole entire presentation and I never look at you, you're going to wonder, okay, A, what's down there? And B, why doesn't she want to look at me? If you use too many gestures, it can come across as flailing. It can come across as very, very distracting. So thinking about being purposeful, being intentional, using your hands to support what your words are saying, rather than just, I have my hands up because they're here and they're hanging out on the end of my arms, and so I should use them. Try to find a way to have it support what you're saying rather than distracting from it. If you find that you're distracting yourself, you're probably distracting your audience. What I frequently recommend to my clients is have a video that you can watch of yourself doing a presentation or doing a podcast interview or something like that, and watch it and just see what you look like. That's where I learned that my resting face isn't so pretty. So good feedback to yourself. So yeah, it's something that I think you have to learn what is distracting. And there are some cultural differences as well, depending on who your audience is. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left before Zoom is going to kick us all out. But Christine has another question which says, how do you develop a poker face? My face tends to be too transparent. Expressions are sometimes misrepresented. I'm listening, thinking, may come across as impatient or disagreeable. And that's, Christine, what I touched on with my resting face. I tend to look a little intense when I'm not careful, if I'm concentrating too hard. I'm gonna say for me, Christine, and I know this probably doesn't help you, working in the hospital for 16 years, I do have a poker face where I can sit there and I can nod and I can look thoughtful with pretty much any shocking thing that someone says to me. It's something that you have to develop over time, is practice with your friends. Say, I'm going to, you can even practice with poker, I suppose, but I'm going to look at you and I'm going to nod and I'm going to have that sense of, you don't know what I am thinking, and I want you to tell me how well you do. How well did I do? You know, doing that is sometimes a really good way to practice. And it's something that comes with time, because I will tell you, when I first started working in the hospital and someone told me something fairly shocking about their history, that this was not the look on my face. I was like, oh, you know, and you can't do that to somebody who's a patient. So it's something that I would say practice with people that you feel comfortable with. Obviously, you know, there are people who choose to practice with someone like me who can give feedback, but do videos, do, you know, things about yourself where you can watch and see what you actually do, because it is interesting how much we express on our faces that we don't know. Does that help at all, Christy? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I have one more slide if it will let me go to it. Thank you so much. I believe I am connected to all of you on LinkedIn already, but if we're not, please reach out, let me know, let's connect. And I appreciate the time that you guys spent, and thanks so much for asking great questions. And please be safe, everyone. Please be healthy, and I appreciate your time.